Hello.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thanks to everyone for being here for this event. I stopped caring about audience sizes, a few years back, just because I learned from Marie Hollowaychuk. I went to one of her first talks back in 2016 at the AVMA, and I went up to her afterwards. I was like, "This subject is so important. Why aren't all the chairs full in this room?" And she said, "Dr. Hawley, they're always the perfect people in the audience every single time." And it's always been my experience, regardless of whether it's 1,000 people when I spoke at NC State's graduation or small seminars that I'm doing in some of the cities in North Carolina. It's always the perfect people. So I know that you all are the perfect people for this talk, and I'm grateful for you being here. As Tierra mentioned, I am Dr. Quincy Hawley, co-founder of Get Motivated Wellbeing Solutions. It's a company that I co-founded with a veterinary technician. Her name is Renee Michelle. She's kind of like our mindfulness and meditation expert. And my big thing is like personal development, personal growth. I'm a junkie for all things well-being and for personal development. I'm also the president of the North Carolina Association of Minority Veterinarians. I am a product of all of the DEI efforts that are going on within veterinary medicine. And so it's only right that I give back through serving as the president of that 501(c) not-for-profit organization. And also sit on the admissions committee for NC State's veterinary school. This will be my 4th term coming up. That's a huge undertaking, looking at a lot of applications. It takes about an hour to look through one application. I'm usually doing about 90 each round. So that takes up a lot of time, but it's another way for me to give back to the veterinary community and help to contribute to diversity and inclusion in the profession as well. Now, for today's talk, we're going to talk about 5 things. And I honestly believe that these 5 things, me learning these secrets, and they're all things you've heard before, I'm sure, but they are really responsible for me being able to live the life that I want to live as an individual. And if we really think about life and what it's all about, it's really about living the life that you want to live, right? Not the life that your parents want you to live, or that your mentors want you to live, or that society wants you to live. Life is about living the life that you want to live. And one of the big things I like to say nowadays is that you can create your own reality by choosing your own future. And everything we're going to talk about today will help you to do exactly that. It doesn't matter your age, ethnicity, your ethnic background, your socioeconomic status, doesn't matter. I've seen these same 5 principles so a lot of different people. Before we go on, I like to tell everyone, like, why I even care about well-being. I could be doing something else right now, like you all could be doing something else. And obviously you care about your well-being as individuals, and so high five to you for that. But well-being and discovering it truly did save my life. So when I first graduated from NC State's College of Veterinary Medicine in 2013, I went to North Carolina A&T State University first before that. So Kennedy, Aggie, pride. Yes, that's right. Any other Aggies in the building? Just raise your hand. Like, no other Aggies? It's okay. I got Kennedy here. But graduated from A&T, went to NC State, and graduated in 2013. Now, when I graduated, I went to a small animal practice, and it was a really busy practice. I was seeing about 25 to 35 cases as a new grad, like fresh out of vet school a month later. And on my surgery days, I was doing about 10 to 15 anesthetic procedures at this hospital, emergencies, walk-ins. It was kind of like Burger King for veterinary medicine. Even though it was kind of a quality practice and we did quality medicine, it was still like anybody could just come in. So if we closed at 6 and somebody walks in at like 5:59, oh, it's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you have to do that. And I always make the joke that at that hospital, when I would walk in the mornings, along the cabinets there would be all the charts that were already waiting to be seen. And my wife and I, she worked at that same practice. She said that it looks like a clipboard making factory. Like there would literally be like 20 charts already lined up. And so the first thing I would say to clients when I walked in was, I'm sorry for your wait. I had no idea how long they'd been waiting. I just knew that they had probably been there for at least an hour and a half. And so I got to use all types of like charm and personality to get the frown off their face before they even know who I am as a veterinarian, basically. So I went into that situation, and um, it's really interesting because I didn't have any healthy coping mechanisms to deal with the stress that came with that type of workload. And my performance was good, my productivity was good. I make the typical mistakes that new grads make, and that even probably seasoned veterinarians make. You make your mistakes here and there. That's something out of the norm, right? We all make mistakes, but I didn't have any healthy ways of coping with that. So I turned to alcohol, I turned to smoking, and I turned to unhealthy eating. And so I would literally get off of work, and I would go to the first gas station I would see on the way home. I had a 30-minute drive home. I get an alcoholic beverage. I poured it in a cup, and I would drink, drive, and smoke a Black and Mild on the way home. And when I got home, I had a car there, and it had alcohol in the trunk of that car. And so I would get out of the truck, and I would go to the trunk, and I would take a couple of shots of alcohol before I went into the house to face my family. And again, my wife, she's a veterinarian as well. She graduated from A&T and then went to Tuskegee and graduated from Tuskegee in 2013. And I was effectively, as you can imagine, ruining my marriage. Thankfully, a lot of the stuff that was going on was never really public. It was more so a private struggle of just living a subpar life of mediocrity for me. And it was tough. And the days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months, and those months turned into about 2.5 years of doing that from 2013 to 2016. I was living that way, and I wasn't proud of it. I would literally, instead of seeing the name of the store, when I would walk into the hospital, I would see "Welcome Back to Hell," as opposed to like, the name of the hospital. It was that bad. And I had a lot of dark thoughts. Smoking, drinking. I gained about 45 pounds in a matter of months. I was literally ripping pants in the exam room. So I would go down to pick up a dog and, right down the middle. I did that 4 times with the rapid weight gain, just from the stress eating and things of that nature. And, it was the day after the 2016 presidential election that I was sitting in this exact same room. And I don't know what it was, but something came over me. And I decided that I was going to I decided that I was better than that. I was like, Quincy, you're a professional. You've been sort of an achiever all your life. You can overcome this. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. And I made a commitment to myself to spend every second, minute, hour, day, week, month, and year of the rest of my life working towards my full potential and the absolute best life possible. And it was with that commitment that a lot of my current mentors came into my life. It was with that commitment that I found all the right tools, all the right strategies, all the right resources that really helped me to live up to that commitment. And I have not looked back. And next to becoming a veterinarian and next to choosing my wife, that commitment on that morning was the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life, hands down, point blank, bottom line. And I discovered the things I'm going to share with you today. So as we go through this, I really want you to think about yourself as an individual and to think about what it is that you want out of life. And if you haven't taken the time to really sit down and do what I call the self-work, the introspection, the self-awareness, the mindfulness, all of the above, and try to figure out what it is that you want, what it is that you need for yourself. All right. Okay. So the first thing, in my opinion, and I'm actually going to, before I do that, I'm going to put a picture up. Let me see if I can share my screen. Let's see here. Okay. Can you all see that there? Can y'all see that? You can just nod your head. How many people do you think can fit on this airplane here? We've all been on an airplane before, I imagine, so we kind of probably have a general idea. But how many people do you think can fit on this airplane? You can unmute your microphone if you want to take a stab at it, or you can just put it in your head.
I'll say 200.
200. All right. Who else?
75.
175.
Yeah, I guessed 120.
120. Okay. Okay. I've got you. All right. I think this is a video. Let me see if I can play it. Okay, I'm going to repause it again. This is a little boy. All right. This is a model airport. So actually, one person can't even fit on this airplane unless they're like using it as roller skates. And so I created this slide, and actually, I think I even had it in this presentation. But I think that it was it Dean Perry? I always shout her out. She's the only person who has ever come remotely close to getting this right. She said, well, it depends on how big that plane is. If it's a toy plane, nobody. And if it's a really large plane, then maybe in the hundreds. Okay, so let me see if I can stop sharing my screen here. But the very first principle, or the very first secret, is that perspective is everything. If you were sitting up high above, you would have seen that there was a little kid. You would have seen that those airplanes were really, really small. And so with everything in life, it's gonna, your interpretation of the things that you see in vet med, in your personal life, all depends on your perspective, right? Because we can look at the same exact picture, and we can look at the same exact case outcome. We can look at the same exact argument between you and your significant other, the same exact pandemic, the same exact racial and ethnic movements. We might see two completely different things because of our perspectives. And so there are a few perspectives I want to share with you today that if you carry them with you for the rest of your life, I promise you they will serve you well. And the first perspective is that there is an advantage in every disadvantage, an equal, an equivalent, and oftentimes twice as large advantage in every disadvantage. Okay? And so in everything that's happening in my life, if there's something that's bad that happens, I instantly start looking for the advantage in that disadvantage. Okay. And it's not being naive. It's not, faking it so you make it. It's really operating from a higher perspective. The second one is that there's opportunity in all chaos that you face in life, right? So while there are a lot of people who are struggling due to COVID, there's another group of people who are thriving because of COVID-19, okay? Their businesses improved, their qualities of life got better because their perspective says that, okay, this is chaos, but I know that there's opportunity in all chaos that we face in life. All right, so that's the second one. And then the third one is that life's always happening for you and it's not happening to you. Life's happening for you, it's not happening to you. Don't take the things in life that happen personally. We live in a very, what I call a dualistic world, dualistic society, meaning that you can't have front without back. You can't have up without down. You can't have good without bad. They go together. All right. And so if you're thinking about positive and negative things in life, things that make you feel good and things that make you feel bad, it's kind of like a wave. Life's like a wave, right? So at the top are the things that make us feel good, and at the bottom are the things that make us feel bad. You can't have the crest of the wave without the trough of the wave. They go together. You wouldn't know what good is unless there was bad to go with it. And so even in veterinary medicine, I look at it as the clients who can't afford the treatment, the euthanasias. There's always another angle to those different things. And we have to train ourselves to be biased to look for the good in the bad. And that allows us to come up with solutions a little bit better, a little bit easier. All right, if you're staying positive and always having that advancing perspective, okay? So that's kind of like the first thing there, is that we've got to have the perspective. And honestly, I would bet against anyone who doesn't have a good perspective, because I can give someone with a poor perspective $1 million and they will find a way to make it the most negative experience of their life. Well, the IRS might come. People, family and friends I haven't seen come after me. I need to hire bodyguards and get security for this and that. And they'll freak themselves out and have like this. They'll be worse off because they have $1 million because of their bad perspective. And I can give somebody else $10 and they'll have an amazing time with that $10 because of their perspective. And so perspective really is everything. Life can sometimes look like a really big airplane, but it could be due to your perspective. It might just be a really small model airplane. So just keep that in mind as you go through, when you make mistakes, when things aren't going right. The second secret is we have to cultivate amazing self-belief. We've got to do this. And when I say self-belief, this is really important because we have to learn to believe that we can live the lives that we want to live for ourselves. If I don't believe I can do a thing, I'm probably not going to make a strong effort at actually doing a thing, right? If I don't believe that if I exercise every single day that I'm going to get a six-pack at the end of it, I'm probably not going to waste my time going through all that work to actually do it. And what I run into oftentimes with veterinary professionals is that they don't believe that they can be veterinary professionals, be in the profession, and still have an amazing life of personal and professional well-being. And I completely disagree with that. And I can't remember who it was, but I think he was a wise carpenter out of Nazareth or Galilee or something like that. But anyway, he said that as you believe, so shall it be done unto you. And I believe that. I believe that in my heart of hearts, in my core, that if I believe that I can live a life of my dreams and complete happiness, right? Not a life that's free of things that sometimes feel bad, but a life of my dreams, complete happiness, right? Because of my perspective, I can look at the negative things and find something positive in those, right? I can always do that. But that is a major point to be made. Now, oftentimes we hear people talk about self-beliefs like, I believe I can fly, and do things like that too. I'm sure you could, but you got to put in a lot of work to be able to jump off of the building and fly. All right, there's got to be a lot of innovation that goes into that, and maybe you have to read like a lot of books, go get another degree in engineering and physics and aviation and all types of things to be able to fly. And I'm not saying that you can jump across cliffs and make those jumps. I'm not saying that you can give an intranasal bordetella to a German Shepherd that wants to rip your face off. Like, that's not the type of self-belief that we're talking about here. We're talking about self-belief within reason, that if you believe that you, at whatever age you're at, can have an amazing life of well-being for yourself, I'm here to tell you it's possible. It might take some work. It will take some work, but it is possible, and to never lose that self-belief. And for me, when I sat down on that day that I made on that commitment to myself, I remember sitting up here and I said, you know what? I can get it done. I can make it happen. And when you have that level of faith and belief in yourself that you can do a thing, all the things come into play. And they have to. If it has to follow the law, or else whoever that carpenter would have to be a liar. He said it. All right. So this is a book right here by one of my mentors. It's called Walking by Faith. And this guy has an amazing story. His name's Joe Dudley. And he's been one of my personal mentors, but he grew one of the world's largest ethnic hair product companies. And he did it in a time where there's a little bit of racial segregation. But the book is called I Am, I Can, and I Will, Walking by Faith. And I met this guy after I sort of developed that belief that I was going to live a certain life. And this guy grew a business. He was labeled educably and mentally retarded when in elementary school, went on to take a business from $25, and he was eventually offered over $150 million for his business. I'm not impressed by the money. I'm impressed by the principles that are in this book. And by the title, you can tell that there was belief in as a major stepping stone for that. The third thing is, and well, I guess before I go into that, ask yourself, like, do you believe that you can have an amazing life of well-being and be a veterinary professional? Write that question down, ask yourself that, and really come up with a good answer for it. The third secret is you must commit. You must make a commitment to living this amazing life of well-being. So you've already got the right perspective now. You see advantages and disadvantages. You see opportunity and chaos. You believe that it's possible. Now you're ready to commit. And ask yourself, like, have you ever made such a commitment? All right. So the big thing for me, when I immediately beat my alcohol problems, my smoking problems, when I sat up here and made that commitment to myself. Have you ever made a commitment to yourself that, you know what, no matter what, I am going to live a life of personal and professional well-being? I don't care. I'm going to make it happen. Like, have you ever made that commitment to yourself? And if you did, what did it sound like when you made it? Where were you when you made it? do you recite it daily, multiple times a day, once a week, once a month? When do you review that commitment and recommit to that commitment? Now, most of the veterinary professionals that I work with, I actually did a coaching session with a receptionist that works at a veterinary hospital earlier today around 4 o'clock. And most people that are burnt out, they've never committed to not being burnt out. They've never committed to having an amazing life of well-being free of burnout. It's just never happened before, right? And so the things that we commit to, oftentimes, if it's a real commitment, there's some false commitments that we make. Raise your hand if you ever made a New Year's resolution. I'm committed to losing weight this year. I'm going to lose all the weight, get that dream body. And, oftentimes I see people there like, on New Year's Eve, they have a beer in this hand, a pizza in this hand, and talking about they're going to lose the weight. I'm like, I don't think you're going to lose the weight. You're already going this way, and you're trying to go that way. So the commitment is already kind of blown. Do I see a hand raised? I thought I saw a hand raised. I don't know if I can.
I reacted, but I'm not sure if anyone else raised their hand.
Okay. I got you. I hear you. Yeah. So you got to make these commitments to yourself. And when I say commit, it's more like jumping out of an airplane if you're skydiving than like that New Year's resolution. So when you make this commitment to well-being, it's not something that you can go back and say, I uncommit to living a life of personal and professional well-being. You jump out of that plane, you're not going back up there unless you get and have a jetpack. It's over. It's done. Make that commitment, really mean it. Write it down, say it out loud, repeat it daily. The things that we repeat become convictions. Our convictions become our reality. Our convictions become our reality. And if you remember back to my story again, I sat up here and I made that commitment to myself that I was going to live the best life possible. And then you stay with that commitment. Commitments, sometimes you can have setbacks. It's okay. Get back up, keep going, keep pushing forward, but you got to make the commitment. All right. The fourth secret that we're going to talk about is imagination. Creative imagination. I learned about this in a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Anyone read that book before? It's a great book, but he talks about the power of creative imagination. One of the big things that I did on that morning when I made that commitment to myself, I actually wrote down all the different things that I didn't want in my life anymore. I said, I don't want to be doing this job that I'm doing, in the next year and a half, right? And so I started working to make that happen, make that a reality. I knew that there were certain things that I did want to have. It's so funny. One of the things I wrote down on there, this is before I'd ever given a single speech, is that I wanted to be a world-class speaker. And I also wrote that I wanted to have my own life help company. That's what I called it at the time. I called it a life help company. It was called YDLS, Your Dream Life Services. Right? This is way back in I think like January of 2017, I wrote these things down on a sheet of paper, called it my dream life description. And now looking here in 2020, I've got a company called Get Motivated, and I am doing talks all over the United States. I'm here speaking with you all, so I feel like it's kind of proof of that. Get Motivated in and of itself is proof that you can create something in your mind first, and you could take massive action towards that to bring it into manifestation and reality. Tierra, I imagine that a lot of what you're doing with BlackDVM Network started in your mind first. Like, it wasn't what it is today. That you had like a vision. When you close your eyes, you could see something that hadn't quite manifested just yet, but through action and through commitment, through belief, and maybe even through perspectives, you can actually bring something into reality. Now, oftentimes when I'm working with veterinary professionals, they're in a bad situation. They don't like what they have currently. Sometimes it's hard to make an immediate physical manifestation change. Meaning, if you just moved out to Montana and you just bought a house and you're at a rural practice and you're the only vet there, you're probably not going to be out of that in a week. You're probably not in a month. You just made a huge investment, but you can be out of there immediately in your mind. you can start to gain the feeling of being away from that situation. You can start building in your mind what it is that you actually do want for yourself. So that way, when the pieces of that puzzle come along, you just pick them out. You just pick them out. You just pick them out just like that. There's a book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's Will Smith's, one of his favorite books. I got it from him, listening to one of his motivational talks. And he said in the Alchemist, the old man, he's like a king or something like that. He says that when a person really, really, really wants something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe, and that the universe is going to conspire to make that achievement come into reality. That all the universe. And so I don't like to get too esoteric, especially with scientific community. They'll shut you down for that. But I do like to get a little bit esoteric. And that has been my experience. That has been my experience, that the things that I have created in my imagination have come into manifestation and fruition. I was on the way to the University of Illinois College of Veterinary Medicine to speak to their BBMA in 2018. My wife was 8 months pregnant. She was about to pop any minute now. And I did a quick, less than 24-hour flight turnaround trip up to there to give a talk to over 150 students. And I remember on the way up there, I wasn't happy, because I didn't feel that I was doing them a true service, because I said that, Quincy, you've spent hours and 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 hours studying, reading all these books. I read 60 books in 10 months after I made that commitment to myself. I said, you can't truly help someone with the 60-minute talk. And so I made a commitment in that moment to create something where the students could go back to after that talk to get all the information that they wanted. And I created something called Get Motivated University, School of Wellbeing for Veterinary Professionals, the world's first school of wellbeing specifically for veterinary professionals. And we have grown that since 2018. We have over 150 students enrolled, over 500 course enrollments. And it's just awesome to see that it started in my mind on an airplane. All right. On my mind in an airplane, it was nothing. Absolutely nothing. And now it's something, and it's serving people. And I have dreams and goals of that, serving a lot of people before I die. I'll do a quick exercise. Everybody close your eyes for a second. Close your eyes, close your eyes. Okay. I want you to imagine an elephant. Just see an elephant in your mind. All right. Now I want you to paint that elephant purple. Paint it purple. So now you should have like a purple colored elephant. All right, so you got the purple colored elephant. Now I want you to color one of the ears white, one of the ears yellow. Purple elephant, one white ear, one yellow ear. And now, last step, I want you to put white stripes on this elephant. Okay, all right, so that image is in your mind. Don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. I think Tyra's going to sleep up. Wake up, Tyra. I was messing. Yep. So now, if you wanted to, you could take that image in your mind and you can make it into Wally, the Wellbeing Elephant, if you wanted to, right? You can go to freelancer.com, and if you got $10, you can hire somebody to do an animated sketch, and they will create that elephant. You can give it a name. You can make it into a logo of a company that you start. You can go a step further. You can go to like an animation studio and make it into a cartoon. Wally the Wellbeing Elephant, that could inspire kids all around the world, right? And so just from something that you created in your mind at first, and what you're going to really do is create the image of well-being that you want for yourself. What is it that you actually want? I was doing a spay once, and I asked my technician, this is after I discovered some of these principles, how powerful they were. I said, if you had like a genie lamp or a magic wand, like what would you ask for? What would you want? Because she always like complained to me during the surgeries and stuff like this. I just asked her, what do you want? You got a genie now, what do you want? And she said, I have no idea. Look, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know where point B is, you're not going there. Because you'll be there and have no idea that you're there. Because you don't know that there is where you want to be. All right. And Likewise, you can also make point B something that's very vivid, something that you know exactly what it looks like. You might be at point B right now, all right, completely happy. And many of us are, if we really knew exactly what it is that we wanted. I'll tell you at the very end. Okay, so that's imagination. Imagination creates reality. Create what you want in your mind first and watch it manifest into outward reality. And the last thing is we must take massive action. People underestimate effort. It's grossly underrated effort. Action. Actually taking steps towards that which you create. If you really want to see that elephant on a piece of paper on your computer screen, go to freelancer.com. you got to take action. It's not going to put itself from your brain to the paper. That amazing life of well-being that you want for yourself, if you're not getting lunch breaks at the practice that you're at and you want lunch, start putting it together in your head. How can I make that work? How can I make that work? Run through all the different scenarios. Who do you need to talk to, right? And then actually take action towards those things. Now, master action for me, when I made that commitment to myself on that morning, I started reading. All these books are on well-being. They're on how to start a business, how to be a speaker. Dr. Irvin McConnell told me, he said, Dr. Hawley, if you don't learn how to read financial statements, you're going to be working for somebody for the rest of your life. Financial analysis of the financial markets, fundamental analysis, technical analysis, how to use financial statements. I took them seriously. I went and bought these books, and it started to make a lot of things make sense in terms of business and how the world kind of works and operates, learning about different things. And I would literally wake up. I started waking up 1 hour early, and then 2 hours and 3 hours early. Got a little obsessed with it. Started waking up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not recommending anyone do that. I've been, slain for that before. So it's not a recommendation. It's just what I do. It works well for me. My daughters are asleep. Everybody's asleep. Nobody's texting you and calling you at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And even and there's actually some math that I learned from a guy named Earl Nightingale. He said that if you wake up just 1 hour earlier a day for 365 days a year, that equates to 9 full 40-hour work weeks worth of time. 9 full 40-hour work weeks worth of time, just 1 hour earlier a day. And so when I did it too, that's now 18 full 40-hour work weeks worth of time. I was still full time. And then I started waking up 3 hours early. As 27 full 40-hour work weeks worth of time, working towards getting motivated, I transformed my body. I lost 45 pounds in 8 months. Transformed my marriage with my wife, made that right? I was jacking it up before, made it right. And audiobooks. So there's something called stacking that I created. It's called simultaneously taking action and consuming knowledge. So STACK is an acronym. Simultaneously taking action and consuming knowledge. So when I was at work on my lunch break, I would go out to a soccer complex 5 minutes away. I would kind of eat, before that at the practice. So I'll type up my medical notes and grab a bite. And then for my hour lunch break, I would go out to the soccer complex. I would run up and down a hill. I'd be listening to Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, Oprah, Les Brown, Eric Thomas, or listening to a book on anything that I wanted to do. You can get audio books on your phone through Audible, Amazon's Audible, for like $14 a month. You can get one a month. And I just started blowing through all types of content and information, re-listen to the same things over and over and over and over and over and over again. Another example of stacking would be if you are driving, if you have a long drive to work. I had a 30-minute drive. So that's 30 minutes on the way to work, 30 minutes on the way back. I listened to Steve Jobs' graduation speech that he gave to Stanford. I listened to that every single day on the way to work, because there was a part in there where he said that he looked at himself in the mirror every single day, every single morning, and he asked himself that if today were the last day of his life, would he want to do what he's about to be doing? And whenever the answer is no for too many days in a row, he knows it's time to change something. There were a lot of other good parts of that speech. It's only a 15-minute speech, so I was just listening to that every single day. And I'm not there. I have the perfect veterinary career. And I'm not saying it to brag, because I get my butt kicked on a weekly basis still, but it's okay. I got the right perspectives to handle that. Getting better, not bitter. Better, not bitter with the bad things that happen in life. And I was able, through massive action, through learning things like 24-hour mastery, how to transform my entire life. Now, I consider myself to be living a life of my dreams of complete happiness. When you learn the right perspective, your worst days become your best days, because if there's an advantage in every disadvantage and there's an opportunity in all chaos, that means if you have a really bad day, there must be equally beneficial things in that. So you have to truly believe that first and foremost. And if you train your brain, you can really see the good in everything. You can walk outside, it's overstimulating. You walk outside, you see heaven everywhere, right? It's not somewhere I'm going to die, maybe, but right here, right now, I see heaven. Now, there's another side to that. I don't know how to make life not painful. On June 3rd, my wife and I were sitting on the bed, and we heard a gunshot. I was like, did you hear that? And there was some weird stuff going on the day before, the evening before. And so I just kind of tried to ignore it, tried to play it cool. It was 7:56 when I heard that. And then so I walk and I look out the window. I see an ambulance pulling into our shared driveway of about 6 houses. And I'm just like, holy, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a problem. Gunshot, ambulance, like I'm no Einstein, but that's a problem. So I send my wife upstairs to watch my daughters, lock the house down. I let my dogs outside so they can kind of do surveillance and stuff like that, because I don't know like where that gunshot came from. And I'm looking at his face right now. My workout partner, my 21-year-old neighbor, and good friend, he killed himself. This is June 3rd, 2020. And it was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to deal with. We were supposed to go walking like the week before. He was an hour late. I was like, bro, can't be an hour late. Got to reschedule. I was doing stuff. And, so you have tough moments in life like that. I don't know how to make that not happen. I've got suicide prevention courses in Get Motivated University. I don't know how to make that not happen. And as proof of that, 60 days later, in our same shared driveway, 2 houses closer, my neighbor killed himself with a shotgun. This is, a month or so ago. These are people I see every day. One that we used to go run hills together and everything. And, I've hung out with both these guys before. And so it's really hard. Now, luckily for me, I have a support system. I've got a mental health professional on the Get Motivated team, Dr. Barry Feldman, who, interestingly enough, specializes in suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention. And it was really good to have someone like that to talk to, right? My wife, she has her own mobile practice, so she does mostly euthanasia. On Sunday, I euthanized her 17-year-old dog that she's had since before me in her lap in our bedroom. It wasn't easy for her. It wasn't easy for me. A dog that's been with us since back at A&T. And an hour later, I found out my uncle passed away. I don't know how to make life not happen. COVID, I don't know how to make that not happen. Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. I don't know how to make that stuff not happen. But what I do know how to do, and this I can teach this to anybody. I can teach you how to handle the you side of it and how you react to all of that. Now, in veterinary medicine, it comes standard with challenges. I don't know how to stop that. Okay? I don't know how to stop euthanasia. I don't know how to stop clients from not being able to afford treatment. People calling out of work, clients getting irate over just the random stuff, scheduling being off, having to stay an hour and a half late. That happened to me this past Saturday. I mean, I was like, good Lord, we're supposed to be out of here at 5:30. It's 7 o'clock. That was a problem. But I had the right perspective. I didn't let it shake me and shake everything else. I cry when I need to cry. And Lord knows I've done plenty of that over the past year and a half. But I don't know how to make those things not happen. But I promise you this. If you want to be a veterinary professional who lives it up and enjoys life, follow those 5 steps. I'm going to recap them for you really quickly. First and foremost, get the right perspective. The world could be perfect. If your perspective is bad, it won't be perfect to you. It wouldn't matter, right? They could fix systemic racism and it would still be something else, right? I mean, perspective first. COVID could disappear. Perspective is bad. A lot of people were miserable before COVID. Perspective. All right. Let's see here. Number 2, cultivate self-belief that you can and you should have a life of well-being for yourself. Veterinary medicine was not a death sentence to your well-being. Okay. It can be if you don't know what you're doing, but it doesn't have to be. You can learn it. You learn how to spay animals. You learn how to do all this complex science. You can figure out well-being. It's not nearly as complex, I promise. Like the 5 things, that's about it. You know, some other small things too. Number 3, make a commitment to yourself. Number 4, creative imagination. See the life you want for yourself in your mind first, and then make it happen through massive action. This formula cannot fail. I've read about it in many of these books. There's stories of people coming out of the lowest parts of life, following the same framework. This is a formula. I didn't tell you to exercise. I didn't tell you to eat salads. I didn't tell you to do yoga. I didn't tell you to meditate. I didn't tell you to go take long walks in the park, because I don't care what you do. Do you? Tyra, you mentioned it earlier about the self-care. Self-care for Tyra might look completely different than self-care with Stevie, right? It's going to look completely different for me than it does for my wife. She doesn't want to go get on the hill and run up and down that thing 50 times in the heat. She don't want to do that, right? And she likes to go spay big, fat, greasy, in heat German Shepherd spays. And I don't want to do that. Heartworm test, microchipping, and some vaccines. I'll be good. That's basically all I've got for y'all here today. Hopefully you found something of value in that. If y'all have questions, I'd love to fill those right now. And I believe in y'all. You can borrow my belief in you. Okay, borrow my belief so you can cultivate your own.